Hello and welcome everybody to Wealth is a Team Sport Live. For those of you who are new, I just believe that one of the most valuable gifts that you can give yourself is peace of mind by learning from other people, thinking bigger thoughts. I think, life is hard enough. So anytime we can learn something from somebody else, it just makes life that little bit easier. So for anyone who's brand new, you may also be asking the question, why is a financial advisor who helps people achieve and retain the lifestyle they want having this kind of an interview? And it's because I think there are so many interesting people out there. And I really like Carol, and you're going to learn more about her in just a minute, because she really looks at the whole person concept. And I think that we need a lot of people out there helping everybody succeed in their finances, because it's not taught in school. Maybe you learn it at home. So we're going to hope you learned something really good today. Carol's going to have a couple tips for us and some bonuses. So, success in our relationship, and I think almost success in anything you end up doing in life, it starts with building those good relationships. And trust is one of those key ingredients. And so that's what we're going to do today, is share some really good ideas with you that you can kind of chew on and go, that may work for me. So let me just take a minute and introduce Carol so that you know who we're talking to today. So Carol Parrish helps female leaders in male-dominated professions like aerospace, manufacturing, and tech achieve financial freedom and that peace of mind around their wealth so they can enjoy life now and still not have to eat cat food in retirement. She describes herself as an air traffic controller of finances. Financial life is like an airport with airplanes taking off and landing and flying in all different directions at different times. And I'm a pilot, so she's right. She manages all the air traffic to create a flight plan that is easy to understand, execute, and adjust as needed. Carol earned her retirement income certified professional designation, and she also has a bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Washington and a master's degree in sports management from Ohio State University. When she's not working, Carol is usually watching softball, baseball, basketball, or football with her 2 kids and her husband. So, Carol, welcome to Wealth is a Team Sport Live.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Sorry, that was a lot to read.
Well, when you've done a lot of things, it's pretty interesting. So what I love about your background, though, is you've done one of the key things, I think, as a good financial planner does, is you know how to take complex ideas and give an example that people can relate to. So how did you come up with the whole air traffic control analogy?
That's a good question. And as I started working with more women in aviation and aerospace, and that's one of the reasons you and I think, got connected, was because of that and your previous experience. But and as a planner, you understand this too. There's so many elements to a complete plan, but it's the best laid plans never go as you expect. So, which is similar to flying a plane. I mean, you don't know what the weather's going to be like. You don't know if a bird's going to fly in. You don't know. There's so many variables that come into play. And so that's how I started explaining it, because everybody that I know that I work with has been on a plane, and they understand the whole concept of the person in the tower trying to make sure everything goes as planned and that the plane lands smoothly.
I love it. So, it's interesting. How did you decide to work with women, specifically women in male-dominated industries? Because that's a very tough niche. I remember when I was starting out my business, I got some advice from a guy who'd been in the business for years. And he said, "Whew, women are tough," he said, because women are slow to make decisions and they really do their research. And that's a hard way to start your business. So how did you end up in that niche?
I think you're right about that. And it took me, we cast a wide net often to start, and then we can only juggle so many balls. And as I started to work with different people and meet different people and get involved in different groups, I quickly realized that audience and we resonated very well with each other. And I had a similar background. I have a sports background, which fits with the theme of your podcast or your stream too. where there were some male tendencies, and then even starting in financial services. I mean, not everybody would agree, but many would, that it can be an old boys club. And, you know, I have an old white dad, and male dad, and I have a twin brother. But the reality is that we don't think and operate the same. And not to generalize too much, but I just clicked with women that were in similar situations, and they can relate to me and I can relate to them, and we can speak in a different language.
I love that. I was just talking with someone today, and one of the favorite questions I used to get asked from different people was, what's it like to be a woman pilot? And I'm like, I don't know. I've always been a woman. So I don't
true.
know.
You don't know what to compare it to, but you know that you have some experiences that other people may not.
So one of the things I think is really interesting, especially with our business, is, how would you describe like some of your key core values, that really kind of drive how you approach the world and how you take care of your clients?
Ooh, that's another great question. Well, for me, you mentioned even at the intro how important trust is. And to me, that's number one. Is my clients have to trust me and know that I'll go to bat for them or do whatever is in their best interest. I also, some of the integrity of things, to me, that's basic, that is just expected by everyone. But let it really, I was reading an article that my business partner actually put together about, I feel like so many advisors are very binary, and they're like, there's either the right way or the wrong way to do things. Where in actuality, the way we look at it is it has to be the right way for them, or
right.
Like for someone would say, it has to be right for me. So we want to present options to them, and we'll make recommendations, but like a diet, or there's so many ways to lose weight, and what works for one person doesn't work for another. So we want to look at different options and find the right fit for that person. And that is really what it's about, getting to know your client and what they want and what they want their life to look like, and how can we help them get there. Not me saying, do this, do that.
Right. And I find it's very interesting is there are some people that do want that. And I have people that I refer them to, because I want to work with somebody who wants a partnership, but still wants to be in control of their money. So I love that approach as well. So, we were looking and we were talking before, and I was going to ask you, is there a right or a wrong way to invest your money? Or, how do you guide people through, like, how do you invest your money? It's like the big question.
And women in particular, I find, at least the ones that I have worked with, a lot of times we're ashamed of how we have handled our money. Like, so many women right now are really good at making money, but then they don't know what to do with it once they have it. So that's kind of where we come in. But oftentimes they also don't understand the difference between saving and investing, where they'll make their money and throw it in a bank account, but not actually invest it. And when we talk about investing, it's, putting it, purchasing something, whether it's a stock or a real estate property or a mutual fund, with the goal to make money off of that. There's really three ways that women and anyone, a man too, can invest their money, and they can do it themselves. Most people are DIYers. If you don't like to do that and you aren't going to hold yourself accountable to that, then and you haven't done it yet, you're probably not going to do it. It requires you to find your own investments, buy your own, buy your shares, sell your shares, and do everything on your own. The next kind of tier that some people do is more hybrid of the DIY plus working with an advisor, where they call it now a robo advisor, where you can fill out a questionnaire and look at your risk tolerance and timeline. And then based on some algorithms, the system will make some recommendations for you and invest your money. So it's taking a little bit of the control out of your hands where you don't have to manage it, but you still have some say. And then the third way is to work with someone like you or me or an investment advisor, where a human being, someone with emotions and feelings, can actually listen to your goals, what you want, what your values are, and help you find the right fit for that. And they can manage those investments for you and make adjustments as needed. And sometimes it's more of a partnership, like you mentioned. I have other clients that want us to manage all of it and don't want any say in it. We still try to educate them and keep them in the loop, but it can be a wide spectrum. But typically, it will fall into one of those three areas.
And I find the same things. And how much do you find? I think it's a challenge because there's so much marketing out there, whether it's the TV or the internet or radio, that make people feel like they should be doing it themselves.
That's a really good point.
Space. Yeah, there's just no space to go, you know what? One of the things I try to share with people is wealthy people, one thing they have in common is they're so used to working with coaches or advisors. And it's interesting that it's the wealthier the person is, the more used to they are to have all those different advisors in their life. They have their lawyers, they have their attorneys, they have their CPAs. And so I try to give people, like, you can give yourself permission. You don't have to do it yourself. There's no gold stars for doing it alone.
Oh, that's so true. And I find, especially with women, they often feel like if they don't have millions sitting around to invest, that they can't get an advisor either. They think it's only for the wealthy, just like you said. And so a lot of that, I feel like, is just education and helping them realize that you don't, like you said, you don't have to go it alone. And so what I see that happens a lot is women get so busy, or they're embarrassed, or they don't, maybe they decide they do want to work with an advisor, but they have no clue where to start or who to trust. Mm-hmm. And so that's another thing that we're trying to but navigate to help them with that process too. And I've found, well, it's I feel like some of this is a more recent phenomenon, because before, the men were the ones managing all the money, and women a lot of times were home. And now we're more independent. We're making money. We want to do things on our own. And we have the ability to do that now, where before, I mean, you couldn't even, a female couldn't even go into a bank and take out a loan or be on the mortgage. I mean, and that was only about 50 years ago. I mean, that's
right.
So pretty wild to think that.
And I love that, because it's interesting, because that means in your generation, you've probably grown up with at least a grandparent who that was the norm. And so there's just so many things that you learn unconsciously that you're not even aware of until you start to get into that space.
Oh, so, and I grew up that way, where my dad worked. My mom stayed at home with us. I mean, she worked in the home, but my dad managed all of the money. And I knew that, we saw that. And it has shaped the way that I think about money and how I want to talk with my spouse. And we still don't see eye to eye on everything, but I have a better understanding of why it's important to talk, but also trying to educate my kids more than what I had growing up too, so that they're aware of that and the importance, and how we can't just go, well, you can, but we don't want to go buy everything that we can just because we can, because then you won't be able to do that later.
Right.
You'll be eating cat food in retirement.
So that's interesting. I have a story, but I won't share that one. So the next thing I want to talk to you, Carol, that I really find interesting is how do you teach people to select the right investor for them? because it's such a personal decision. It's, money it's, I don't know that it gets more personal than that.
Yeah. And that's because it's so personal, that's why that trust factor comes in. And for me, what I to start off, the first thing is like, identify what your needs are. If someone is just looking for someone to help them with their, IRA or investments, there's, a variety of people that can do that. It can be a financial planner. It can be an investment advisor. It can be a stockbroker. So what are those needs first? If you want to look at the whole big picture and how are you protected, and is the left hand talking to the right hand, then a financial planner like you or someone like me may be a better resource. If you need someone to help you with your taxes, then that's a CPA, not necessarily someone at the bank or one of us. So first identify the needs, then look at who the players are, who can help you with those things, like some of the examples I just gave. And then how do those people get paid too? Do they make a commission? Do you pay a flat fee? Is it, do you think it's worth the value that you expect to receive from them? So that's kind of the third thing. And then also along with that, some of it will depend on the client's priority too, or the person searching. So do you care about the credentials that the person has? Like, do they have to be a CFP? Do they, how long have they been in the industry? And does that matter to you? What's their style? We talked earlier about, do you want someone to tell you what to do? Or do you want someone to educate you, or have an accountability partner? And people want different things. I was just about an hour before this interview, I was on a group call with about 20 other business owners, and we were talking about executive presence. And the topic came up about leaders who are very authoritative, can be demeaning, jerk, for lack of a better word, but they've done some amazing things. Do you want someone that's going to just put it all out there and tell you what they think you should hear, whether you want to hear it or not? Or do you want someone that is a little bit more mild-mannered, or has more discussion and emotion and things too? So, and then interview, talk to people to see if they have any recommendations once you've gotten to that point. And then interview a few people and see who you click with and who you think it will meet your needs. You don't have to work with someone that you don't like. We talked a lot about how women, we talked about women and advisors, but a lot of people I know, when they do get an advisor, or they used to, they're just like, they're working with their parents' advisor. So they didn't know anything about this person, but they may say, oh, well, my mom and dad worked with them, so I'm going to work with them. I have a client that just came on board who was in that situation, and she finally was like, this guy does not work the way that I work. I want to work with someone that's more my style. And it's your money, so get someone that you're comfortable with and that you can trust. Yeah. So
now I absolutely do that, because there's a lot of advisors out there, and somebody wants somebody that wears a suit, and somebody wants someone who's comfortable with them. And, one of my first advisors and coaches that I worked with, because I always have a coach, for my horseback riding, for everything I do. And she worked with, the .com people, and she's like, everybody's comfortable. There's not any one way to do it. So I love that. And
exactly.
This really caught my eye as well, is you talked about creating a portfolio that's aligned with your values. money
Yes.
is not the whole thing. It's also can matter what's important to you.
Yes. And we're in a day and age where we have more options now where we can do that. In the past, I think just in general, I feel like people are trying to be more socially responsible and looking more into sustainability and environmental things and social justice. And so the investing world per se is recognizing that. And so now there are ways to build your portfolio to support that. If you believe or are very passionate about gun control and gun rights, there's ways to invest in that. There's our firm just recently created a new gender lens portfolio where all of the companies that are in the portfolio have to go through a certain screening process and meet a certain number of criteria. For example, the companies, there's no companies that have 0 women on the board. It could be they have to be LGBTQ friendly, have a high diversity score. I'm just looking at some of the other criteria. Remove companies that have revenue derived from countries that actually don't treat or have poor women's rights or don't treat women fairly too. So there's so many resources out there now. And a lot of people think, well, yes, I'd like to be aligned with my values, but I also want to make money off my investments. And the reality, I mean, nobody can guarantee a return, but what we're finding now is that the companies that are being more responsible are actually tending to perform better because they're more diverse and taking all these things in. So the company's progressing, which then results in most cases or in many cases, better performance as well. There's a couple websites that are, very educational and they're nonprofit. There's one that's called asyousow.org. So like sow your oats, sow your, that's kind of a weird analogy, but asyousow.org, and it has all the information. It's almost like a corporate watchdog. And then they've created like a spin-off website called Invest Your Values. And if you go to that website, you can literally type in, like if you work for Microsoft, you can type in Microsoft and see how their 401k plan offerings match up with some of these social responsibilities and things. Or let's say you are in a Vanguard fund, you can go type in that Vanguard fund and actually see where they're invested and how they're rated on some of these different, it's like 9 different categories around climate change, social responsibility and things too, which are great tools. But now, a lot of advisors, DIYers, and even the robo advisors now, you can find investments that will help you do that. So a lot more options now too.
Yeah, I love that it's just, because money, I feel like money is important because it helps you have experiences, take care of your family and do those things. But in and of itself, it's kind of meaningless. So how cool is it that you can prepare for your future, but then also align with your values? So that's awesome. So
you
Carol,
can walk the talk, not just talk the talk.
Exactly. How do people get a hold of you if they're interested in connecting?
The best way to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm on there regularly. And if you just search Carol Parrish, I'm the first person that pops up. And I'm happy to connect with anybody that finds me on here. And just I love connecting other people too. My website is utorwealth.com. That's UTOR wealth. It means enjoy in Latin, which is the goal for our clients. We want them to enjoy their lives, and it's all about them.
That's great, Carol. So people can look in the comments to find that. But we have a little bit time left, Carol. Can you share with us a bonus concept?
Sure. So I have 3 hacks that I always use when I'm having just quick conversations with people, because you can implement them like immediately. And the first one is to schedule a money date. Make it fun. If you like wine, have a glass of wine. If you like beer, have a glass of beer, but make it something that you look forward to. And if you have a partner, schedule it with them. And it literally can be an hour a month, and just check in on your finances and see how things are going. It maybe if you're trying to save for a house, okay, where am I with that? If you just want to see how much you spent on Amazon that month, check that. But just check in. Get organized, which up front that takes a little bit longer, but once you are, it could be as simple as having a 1-page balance sheet showing all your accounts, and just refer to that each month. And you can use that on your money date. You can find a template online pretty much anywhere if you just look for 1-page personal balance sheet. And then lastly, a lot of times people are talking about returns and different things, but it all comes down to cash flow for us. I mean, we want to have more money coming in our house than going out. And if we can do that, that usually leads to positive things. So to keep that positive, protect your todays. If there's a few things that can happen that wipe out all the best laid plans, even for pilots. That's why they have air traffic controllers. Save, save, save. The average American saves 5% of their income. If you can get that up to 15 to 20%, not overnight, just gradually automating it and increasing that like 1% a year, that's a good thing. Diversify all of your assets, not just your portfolios. Don't have everything in your 401k. Don't have everything sitting in the bank account. Don't have everything in real estate. Spread that out. And then lastly, if you do all of those things, you may be familiar with Sally Krawcheck, Tara, but her big thing is if you do all that, you can buy the effing latte. So we hear so much coffees, if you quit buying a $5 coffee every day, you could have X amount of dollars. Well, if you're doing everything you're supposed to and you want the $5 coffee or you want that pair of shoes, you can go do that. So.
And I want to foot stomp that or underscore that, because if your plan causes you to have to make your life smaller, I don't think it's a great plan.
Oh.
You get one life. We want to enjoy it and live it. And that's awesome.
Right.
So Carol, thank you so much for sharing your hacks, your bonus concept. And I love your approach, because you give people space to be who they are. And then you give some education, and you kind of come up with options. So there's not a one size fits all that's going to work for everybody. And I love that you shared that with us. And just tell us one more time, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you if they want to connect?
Carol Parrish with 2 R's on LinkedIn. And you can find me on my website at utorwealth.com.
So
thanks
Carol,
for having me too. This was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining the show. For those folks out there listening, don't forget that you can share this interview with your friends who may not have been able to listen in today. And I'm really looking forward to sharing our next time's amazing guest. So have a wonderful time. I can't wait to hear about your success. Leave it in the comments, share with us what's going on, and we'll talk with you later. Bye, everyone.